So I was born and raised in Yorba Linda, and I love this city. There's a lot of great things, from the great education system to parks, outdoor activities, to relatively quiet, low traffic, recently ranked the third safest city in California. It's really a tight-knit community here, but there are a few things that if you're thinking of buying a home here, if you don't know about, you can definitely regret moving to this area. And that's what we're going to talk about on today's episode when I go over the 5 things that you need to know about before moving to Yorba Linda to make sure it's the right city for you. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with number 1. So the first thing that you need to know about before moving to Yorba Linda is that if you are moving here, it is a city close to the hills, which when you're trying to purchase a home, that means you need to be extremely careful when you're looking at insurance coverage when you're purchasing that house. If you're looking at places that are close to the hilly areas of Yorba Linda, it could be very difficult to even find insurance, and if you do, it can be pretty expensive to be able to get that insurance because of the fire danger. So there has been a new law that will go into effect at the beginning of 2025 that should help stabilize the market and bring insurance companies back. However, even with that stabilization happening, because we are located next to the hills, it is something that you want to make sure before you even get into escrow, you talk to an insurance company, make sure you can get coverage for the house that you want to place an offer on, and get a quote. So that way you know exactly how much you can expect to pay for insurance before you even get tied up in escrow, because the last thing you want to do is get into escrow, start doing your research, talk to your insurance company, and then find out it's going to be way more expensive to get insurance than you thought, and now you can no longer afford that home and have to back out. Definitely not something you want to do, but in 2024 alone, 14% of all homes that fell out of escrow did so because either the buyer couldn't find insurance for the property or because the insurance was too expensive. So make sure you get that insurance quote before you place an offer on the property. So the second thing that buyers need to know about is, because we are right next to the hills, Chino Hills State Park, the wildlife population in Yorba Linda is a lot more robust than most other areas of Orange County, which means that if you have a small animal like a cat or a small dog, you need to be extremely cautious every time you take them outside, because the coyote population in Yorba Linda is definitely large. They're around, they can jump 8-foot fences really easily, jump down, snatch a small animal, and jump back up before you even saw anything happening. So if you have a small dog, have a cat, I definitely highly recommend you do not have any outdoor cats in Yorba Linda. And small dogs, when you take them to go to the bathroom almost any time of day outside, you need to be out there with them, watching them to make sure they're safe and you're not going to have any issues with coyotes. The second population of wildlife that you want to be aware of is we do have a good skunk population here as well. So if you have a dog, no matter the size, if you're walking outdoors, you just need to make sure that you're aware of your surroundings. You don't go around any corner, surprise a skunk, because the last thing you want to do, either right before you go to work or right at the end of the night when you're walking your dog, is have to deal with the smell of a skunk. Trust me, I've been through it. It's not fun having to clean that up, and the smell is going to stay around no matter how much you wash them for at least another week or 2. So just be aware of that before you decide to move to Yorba Linda, that you're just going to have more wildlife around this area than a lot of parts of Orange County. So number 3 is commute time. So if you're thinking about buying here, something I always recommend doing is plugging in the addresses you're looking at compared to where you work, because there are places in Yorba Linda, especially again once you get higher close to the hills, that it could take you 5-10 minutes just to get the freeway. And so if you're trying to travel someplace like South Orange County in the morning during traffic, it could take you an hour to get there. So you just want to make sure that you're aware of what the general traffic is going to be to get you to and from work, and be okay with that before you decide to put your roots down here, because it is out of the way, which is nice in terms of how quiet it is, but because of that, the commute time is typically going to be longer to get to work unless you work from home. So the fourth thing you want to think about before moving here is weather. So yes, Southern California in general has great weather, especially compared to most of the United States. And so I know you can take this with a grain of salt if you're moving someplace from the desert over here, but we do have warmer summers in Yorba Linda than a lot of other Orange County areas that are closer to the beach. So sometimes during the summer months, you can get a heat wave where you're above 100 degrees for maybe a couple days in a row, but typically you're looking at high 80s to 90s for a lot of the summertime. So if you're okay with those temperatures, especially if you're coming from a place like Arizona where it's going to be 115 degrees or more for 4 months out of the year, then you probably won't have an issue. But if you don't like the heat and you want to find some place that has a cooler climate inside Orange County, there might be better cities for you to look at. So the fifth and final thing that buyers need to know before deciding to move to Yorba Linda is you have to understand the cost of living in Yorba Linda is going to be a little bit more expensive compared to some of the other Orange County cities. So the average price single family home here right now at the end of 2024 is about $1.45 million. Average price condo is about $750,000. So there are definitely places inside Orange County where you you can get a better bang for your buck. So we definitely are on the higher end of what the cost of living is. However, it's not as high as a lot of those beach communities as well as Irvine. So if you're looking at a good compromise, that could be a good fit for you here. But it's just something for you to consider if you're thinking of moving here, and look at other options to see if the price for what you get is going to be more ideal somewhere else. So being born and raised in Yorba Linda, as well as living most of my life here, the only time I didn't live in Yorba Linda is when I briefly moved out when we first got married. But about 3 years later, as soon as we found out we were having a kid, we came right back to Yorba Linda because of the great education system, as well as the nice, safe, quiet neighborhoods. So don't let all these cons scare you off, but it's something that I hear from different people that live in Yorba Linda that they wish they knew before they moved here. So I thought I'd pass that information on so that way you could be fully informed before you decide to make a move to Yorba Linda and call this place your home. Now, if you are thinking of moving to Yorba Linda and you want a local expert to help guide you to the right neighborhoods that might be best for you and your family, feel free to look at the description below. There's a link to my calendar where you can schedule a free 15-minute discovery call. We can go over everything that you're looking for, and I can help guide you to the right locations to make sure you find the best fit for you and your family. So until next week, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you on the next show. Bye, everybody.